Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with One-to-One Media, and I'm joined today by Tim Segall, CTO at SoundBite Communications. And today, Tim and I will be talking about this evolution that the industry's gone through from call centers to multi-channel contact centers and how that's continuing to evolve. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Tim, as customers have become more multi-channel in their interactions with companies, what are some of the challenges that companies have faced in trying to keep track of customers and meet their needs?
So I suppose the first question is, what does multi-channel mean? We started with multi-channel, and the concept of multi-channel was an agent. And then over time we moved to sort of next level sophistication being IVRs, with the desire to hit zero and speak to an agent. More recently, you've seen the web take off hugely and in a pretty compelling fashion, especially for some of our clients. And then more recently, you see things like text and email. Text is a great channel for sort of a notification, not necessarily a great channel for interacting over. And then email has some deliverability issues. And then just right now, we're seeing things like push notifications and social media. Push notifications are a little challenging in that not many people have the apps deployed. And then the social media seems to be mostly for folks who want to sort of detect customer angst or customer ire, but it's not really one-to-one. So multitude of channels, most of our clients are sort of trying to grapple with those. Some of the big players are offering sort of half-hearted multi-channel offerings. So to the core of your question, what are our organisations doing about it? They're mostly providing stovepipe solutions. So they typically have an email channel, have a voice channel, and there's not a lot of channel, what we tend to call blending and or hopping. So some interesting use cases, but mostly within a channel. And then again, the channels are mostly used, some of the channels are particularly used for notifications as opposed to an interaction medium. Set of challenges associated, what do the consumers actually want? So I'd say most of the organisations have availed themselves of the new channels, but they tend to be stovepiped and not necessarily a coherent view of the customer and what the customer wants and how to do intelligent cross-channel use.
Sure. So thanks for that. So as part of this, are there any recommendations you can offer in terms of effectively breaking through those silos and making it easier to follow customer interactions from one channel to the next?
I'd say many of our clients struggle. Well, firstly, they struggle with identity as a concept. So if you're Tim Segall or Timothy Segall, some of our larger clients have sort of made acquisitions and they haven't yet worked out that Tim Segall is the same as Timothy Segall. And then even identity is a complicated concept for some of our so we mostly deal with larger clients, and they have. So some of our clients think of you as a VIN because you buy a Ford or a Chrysler, and their worldview is Tom is a VIN, a vehicle identification number, and if he gets a new car, he's a new person. One of our other clients is a logistics client, and their view of me is 62 Hill Street, Lexington, Massachusetts, and everything else is sort of irrelevant. So you sort of have to crack the identity problem first. So let's assume you've solved for identity. Then you need to sort of coalesce everything you know about. So last week I was chatting to a client and they have 80 separate databases where they store information about Tom Hoffman. And they have a vision of getting to 8. But in the end game, you'd love to have a vision of 1. So that if Tom speaks Spanish, we know Tom speaks Spanish. And then once you've sort of solved for identity, and solve for some coherence, and ideally real time. So we'd love to know, oh, Tom surfed on our web 2 minutes ago. Oh, and he's now calling us up. It must probably about the thing he surfed on. And then the last thing a lot of our clients are focused, especially in the US, about is what we call governance. So how many times have we reached out to Tom? Has he got a welcome call? A set of care-related treatment of Tom, ideally on the channel he likes, not the channel I like. Now, it's compounded by the fact that you might like a channel and I might have a different reason for liking a different channel, and that can be problematic because one might work and you might be able to ignore the other one. So it depends. And if you're a certain demographic, you'll have a preference for an automated, if you're younger, you'll have a preference for communication on the converged device, on the cell phone, and you'll have a preference for always available and instant resolution.
Yeah, right. So good points. And as part of this, Tim, you touched on the fact that the customers are cross-channel in their interactions with companies. So if they're looking for ways to resolve issues or answers to their questions, they might start in one channel, but they might move to another. Can you share with us how companies might be able to use technology to help facilitate this cross-channel journey for customers?
So obviously, if you're a company, one of the challenges, you have all these stovepiped IT systems, and you have this channel plethora just beating down on you. And you also have this sort of consumer demand on a converged device. They're looking for the channel they want, not the channel you necessarily want to deliver. So one of the things that I think fascinating for us is, historically, our tier one clients have had, they can throw a large amount of money at the problem, and they can build custom solutions across their organization. Now, in fairness, they have deep challenges because they have huge customer bases in disparate databases. The interesting thing, I think, with the SaaS model is that the tier two clients have an ability to select a cloud offering and deliver in a very timely manner a cross-channel, multi-channel solution without the sort of incredible forklift that is required typically. And so they get roughly the same solution as a tier one client without the huge undertaking.
Interesting.
So I think one of my favorite examples is fraud. It's inherently, so if you're one of the big banks or one of the big card issuers, you detect fraud within about 200 milliseconds. Well, suspicious activity. Right. So we'd like to reach out, and we need a notification model. And everyone views this as perfect. We love to get the fraud notification. Their goal is to get you a fraud notification while you're still in line, just having done the POS transaction. So we send you a text. The text has a link. The link sends you to a microsite. It has the last 3 transactions, and there's 2 buttons at the bottom. One says valid and one says invalid. If you click invalid, we instantly bridge an agent to you. So in the space of 60 seconds, you started with a text, you went to the web, and then you went to an agent. So it's a perfect experience. And if it wasn't fraud, you click valid, and your credit card continues to work, which is the key determinant of success.
Sure.
So I think the channels there's a couple of things that make them interesting. Sometimes there's an appropriate channel for something. So reading the last 5 transactions really works quite well on the web. It's a nice way to do it. But they won't close out if you think it is fraud, they need you to speak to an agent. So you've got to have that. And then the text message is a great one for just that notification. Another good example is if you call up an IVR system and they want to give you a tracking number. It's like the 411 example. A tracking number for a UPS or a FedEx is 26 digits long. So in the good old days, they'd say, please press 1, go and get yourself a pen, and press 2 when you're ready to write it down. Well, if you're on a cell phone, this is really dumb. We might as well send you a text message with a link to the tracking page, so you've got it and you don't have to write it down. So I think some channels are inherently good because of the medium. Some channels are inherently good because of the security. We don't want to send confidential data to you over the text channel because it leaves an imprint on your text message. And then some channels are inherently good because you have a strong preference.
Well, thanks. Those are good examples. So, as part of this, I'm wondering, can you also share with us examples of companies that you feel have done a really effective job of providing this type of seamless multi-channel experience for customers?
I think the fraud example's a good one. I see clients I had a good experience in Australia when I was with the Telstra, which is the sort of equivalent of AT&T before it was broken up. It's roughly the legislated monopoly in Australia, although it's now a duopoly. I had a problem with my modem. So this was a while ago. And I called up and they walked me through an automated menu to resolve the problem. And at some point, for some reason, the phone call died. I called back in and they instantly routed me to an agent who knew I'd fallen off halfway through that resolution process. So I think the key as we look forward is an element of a sort of coherent view of the customer interactions and real time. They have to be real time. It has to know I was logged in on the Marriott website 2 minutes ago looking for a hotel in Stamford and now I'm calling up. They should know that. And what's more, not only should they know it, but they should know I have an Android device. And so if you look at what's truly the bleeding edge, it's neither multi-channel nor cross-channel, it's simultaneous channel delivery. So we've got clients now who are starting to deliver, you're on the phone with them, and they'll push the web browser in front of you. So you can say review transactions, and it'll put the last 5 transactions up, and then you'll say review transaction 4, and the web screen will change to transaction 4. So they're actually they're not doing just multi-channel or cross-channel, they're now doing blending of the simultaneous channel while you're on the phone. And I think the future state is all about a converged device. I mean, you just have to assume, as the US moves over 50%, that everyone's got one. It's how they do location, it's how they surf, it's how they get texts, it's how they do all their social interactions. And you just need to think of the person, and it is their personal device. It's no longer like calling a home phone, which nobody ever answers. It's now is their device, it is them, and it's got all the sort of technology associated with that.
Right. Well, those are great examples, and it reflects what we've been talking about, how customers can be followed and understood by the products that they've purchased from a company, the devices and channels they're using to interact with companies, and the example that you brought up from Telstra, from yourself, which is that you don't have to start from scratch if you have to,
right,
reach out to an agent again. They can pick up the conversation from that point and move forward.
And they should always know that. And it's so frustrating. You get the classic case is you enter your account number, then you get transferred to someone else, and you enter your account number again, yeah. And that's the worst of the worst. But and I think clients are going to, consumers are initially going to be a little spooked by the fact that you say to them, "Oh, I noticed you were looking for a hotel a minute ago in Stamford. How is there one of these 2 hotels in particular you prefer?" I think that's going to be a little spooky at first, mm-hmm. But I think over time that's going to become the expected norm.
Okay, great. Well, Tim, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate this.